you guys? The Curious Owl here, and today I am going to be sharing with you guys my November 2022 TBR. So October was a really successful month for me in terms of getting a lot of things read and a lot of things that I had been wanting to read for certain readathons, those kinds of things. But I will say one of the things I am really struggling with is reading most of my anticipated reads for the year. All of the books I had anticipated, except for like one or two that got pushed back to 2023, have been released. And so I want to make it a mission in November to almost exclusively read my most anticipated 2022 reads that I still have yet to read this year. Now, this is not counting books that are parts of book clubs or reading things that I'm a part of, like the Brandon Sanderson read along or my Wheel of D20 pick. Anyway, let's go ahead and get started with the Wheel of D20 spins for the month of November. So we are here to do our 2 spins for the month of November. Hopefully we don't get any doubles this time like we did in October, but even if we do, it is, still possible for me to get through those because of the fact that I'm doing kind of more of a mood read in November as it is. So let's go ahead and see what our 2 spins are going to be for this month. So here's spin number 1. And we get... Ooh, we get to play a game for our 2. Oh my gosh, this is so exciting. So, this is going to be a brand new thing. So let me go ahead and switch to a different camera and I'll talk about it here in just a second. So, by the way, this is my Twitch stream stuff from back when I was streaming on Twitch all the time. But basically what this is Becca's Animal Crossing book pick. This is a game that my friend Becca over at Becca with a Book ended up actually creating herself. I'm so excited to be able to do this. So if you guys are not familiar, if we land on a game in terms of one of the prompts for the Wheel of D20, that means that for any of the prompts from that one to the end of our spins end up being chosen by the game. So for this one, both of our spins are actually going to be determined by the Animal Crossing game. Now, essentially what this is that you're supposed to do some island hunting and villager hunting, and whoever you end up finding on these islands that you go to in Animal Crossing to like find villagers, basically they are the ones that will help determine your pick. There's different kinds of Animal Crossing characters where like they have a specific like type of sorts. There's like cheery, sporty, a foodie kind of one, and depending on what ones you end up finding, you then pick a certain kind of book from those prompts. I haven't played Animal Crossing in a hot second, so I don't even really remember if I have any more room for villagers. I feel like it's possible, but we will have to see. So I'm gonna have to go do some villager hunting and see who I can find, but let's see who we end up getting. Okay, so we are on the first island. I currently have myself here. I got 2 Nook Miles tickets just to start off with because I'm not sure who I'm gonna see. I also right now just had Tammy is deciding to leave my island, and I just sold another plot of land, which I think is my last plot of land, but let's see, there's a fire going, so somebody's here. Who is it? I think somebody would be here if the fire's going. Just gonna look around, see who we can find. And this is weird to do with one hand. I'm just gonna say I don't particularly like the idea of just doing things with one hand, because I can't seem to control my joystick very well when I'm doing this. Is there nobody actually here? Like, what's going on? I thought there... Oh, there they are. Oh, it's Little Piggy. Who are you? Curly. Okay. So Curly is a jock, and I'm going to have to reference Becca's video to, like, figure out what that prompt is. So give me 1 second. Okay, so according to Becca's video, the jock prompt is to read a book that involves sports. I think I may have 1 or 2 that could work with this. Okay, so we are now on Island 2. So let's take a look. Another campfire, so I think somebody's here. It's a rooster. Who are you? Hello. Benedict. Okay. Benedict is a lazy personality type. So that's awesome. I have 2 different ones. I don't have to worry about adding on another spin of any kind or anything like that. So I have 2 different ones. So let's see what a lazy one is. Okay, so for lazy, this is a book that has something to do with food. So this basically is something where like either food is like a big focus of it, like it's kind of part of like the main character's thing, or I'm assuming maybe even if I can find like a food-based competition kind of story, that would work. So I think I might have some options for this. We're gonna have to see how this is gonna go. But okay, so hello, we are here to do the rolls for the Wheel of D20 picks. Now, as you guys saw, I had 2 picks that were picked by Becca's Animal Crossing Chooses My TBR game thing. So the first pick that we had was a jock, which is to read a book that involves sports. So for this, I have I Beat the Odds by Michael Oher versus Spinning by Tillie Walden. I Beat the Odds is the memoir of the man that the movie The Blind Side, featuring Sandra Bullock, was based off of. This is his actual memoir detailing the stories of like what he went through growing up, how he actually did beat the odds, coming from, first of all, a very low income area, but then 2, having many problems in school and becoming one of the biggest footballers that there is of all time. I love The Blind Side movie, and I had seen that this one was available, like it was on sale, I think, at one point, and so I thought I would, you know, maybe enjoy it because I love the movie so much and want to get the real story of Michael Oher. Not really a football fan at all, but I thought this would be really interesting. And then Spinning is a graphic novel by Tillie Walden that does involve a character who is in dance. And before any of y'all come at me, dance is a sport. Don't try telling me otherwise, because I have the injuries to prove that it's a sport. It is something I did for many years of my life and is a activity that is very physical. So nobody come at me about that. But we're gonna actually do our roll right now for this. So looking to maybe go for Spinning more so than I Beat the Odds, but let's see what we end up getting. And we rolled a nat 20! Woo! Nat 20! So that does mean I will be reading Spinning by Tillie Walden for the jock prompt. Okay, well, we're gonna knock on wood and see if we can get a good roll again for this time. But the next one is Lazy, which is to read a book that deals with food. So for this, I have Pride, Prejudice, and Other Flavors by Sonali Dev versus Yerba Buena by Nina LaCour. Yerba Buena is one of my most anticipated reads for 2022, so I would like to put this on the TBR for more than just the fact that I'm going to be reading it to round out my 2022 releases for the year. I would like for it to count for more than one thing, but let's see what we end up getting. And that time we got an 18, so another high roll. That's actually really awesome. I did not think that that was gonna happen. But with an 18, we are gonna put Yerba Buena on for the lazy prompt. So for the only spin I ended up actually doing, because we landed on a game, was for Becca's Animal Crossing TBR game. It is very fun to do these new TBR games I've never done before involved in this, because I think it just gives me so many more options to kind of like find books to like fit these prompts. So for this one, for the 2 prompts that we were going to do for the Wheel of D20, they were instead picked by Becca's game. And the first one was we found a jock Animal Crossing character when we were doing some villager hunting, to read a book that involved some kind of sports, I think. The book that ended up winning was Spinning by Tillie Walden. This is a graphic novel memoir kind of story that dictates, I believe, Tillie's experience with doing ballet. Becca, I know, has read this in the past herself, and I think she liked it, but there were some things that were a little lackluster, so I'm interested to see my own thoughts on this one. I had a lazy villager, which was to, I think, read something that involved food, because they're always talking about food and snacks and stuff like that. And for that one, we ended up being able to go with Yerba Buena by Nina LaCour. This is one of my most anticipated 2022 releases. Really loved Nina LaCour's book, We Are Not Okay, or something like that. It was a story that basically dealt with grief and a character losing her grandfather and how like monumental that was. And at the time, I had lost my grandfather a few years prior, but that was a story that really hit home for me, and I loved the writing style, and I think this is going to end up becoming another favorite because I really like Nina's writing and I would like to read more of it. Okay, so before we get into the rest of the anticipated 2022 releases I want to read this month, I'm going to go over the book club books I have for this month. The first one is a carryover technically from October because the leader of this book club did decide to make it a bi-monthly book club from now on. So this book is now our October and November pick. And that was for Princess's Royally Booked Book Club, which we are reading Upon a Burning Throne by Ashok K. Banker. This is a high fantasy story basically involving two brothers who are in line for the throne. And there is a possible sister that is also vying for the throne. And I don't really have much to say on it only because I haven't read too much of it. But so far I've been really enjoying it. I'm only within like maybe the first 100 pages and I love the writing. I think this is so beautifully done so far and I can't not wait to see how the rest of this one goes. Next, we have the Brandon Sanderson book for this month, which we are continuing with our read of the Stormlight Archive series by going into Oathbringer, the third book in this series. Now, this is not so far my favorite series by Brandon Sanderson. It is incredibly complicated. I know that a lot of people really love this series, and I'm sad that I don't enjoy this one as much as I did like Mistborn, but I think that this one's just a little too much for me. It feels very similar to how my feelings are for the Wheel of Time series after some time, where it's so long and there's so much that happens and some things are really cool. Like there were some really good moments in both books 1 and 2 that I absolutely loved for these characters. But the overall plot I'm kind of losing as time goes on, but I think that I'm starting to kind of understand it the more that like I sit back from having read the books. But like I said, this is the third book in the series. We are coming up on the end of our Brandon Sanderson read-along, with December being the final book in the Stormlight Archive, and so I am very excited to continue with this series and be able to say that I've read it, but I just hope that this one ends up being better than the other two, considering the other two books were kind of more of a 3-star as opposed to most of Sanderson's work that's like a 4 or a 5. Next, we have Brandy's book club pick. I am a part of Brandy from Books of Brandy Shanae's membership group, and basically we have a book club that we do every single month, and for the month of November, we are reading The Firekeeper's Daughter by Angeline Boulley. This is, I think, more of a mystery thriller. I'm gonna read the synopsis because I don't really know much about this, and I think that this is gonna be the best way for me to talk about this book. It says, 18-year-old Donis Fontaine has never quite fit in, both in her hometown and on the nearby Ojibwe reservation. She dreams of a fresh start at college, but when family tragedy strikes, Donis puts her future on hold to look after her fragile mother. The only bright spot is meeting Jamie, the charming new recruit on her brother Levi's hockey team. Even as Donis falls for Jamie, she senses the dashing hockey star is hiding something. Everything comes to light when Donis witnesses a shocking murder, thrusting her into an FBI investigation of a lethal new drug. Reluctantly, Donis agrees to go undercover, drawing on her knowledge of chemistry and Ojibwe traditional medicine to track down the source. But the search for truth is more complicated than Donis imagined, exposing secrets and old scars. At the same time, she grows concerned with an investigation that seems more focused on punishing the offenders than protecting the victims. Now as the deceptions and deaths keep growing, Donis must learn what it means to be a strong Anishinaabe Kwe, or Ojibwe woman, and how far she'll go for her community, even if it tears apart the only world she's ever known. So this seems like it's going to be another really hard-hitting story, and this is honestly perfect because November is, I believe, there's a readathon going on that is focusing on Indigenous peoples. I don't know what exactly it's called. I know Brandy is a part of it, which is why I believe she picked this one for the book club. But I am looking to read a lot more Indigenous work. I love Stephen Graham Jones. I've loved a few other Indigenous stories as I've read over the course of my time. But this is the first YA Indigenous story that I'm really excited to read and that I've heard about. So I hope that this one ends up becoming really good. So far, the book club books have been astounding for Brandy's book club. So I'm very excited for this one. And this one I have had my eye on for several months, but never really had the courage to pick it up because I didn't know what it was about and whether I was going to like it. But I think this is going to end up being something I'm going to really enjoy. Hey guys, Editing Gabby here. I totally did not even realize that in the midst of filming this video that I forgot to mention my Finish Your DNF series for the month of November. I don't know why I didn't think about it. I had my bullet journal literally right in front of me as I was filming, so I must have just glossed over it completely. But I did want to let you know that my next Finish Your DNF series is going to be a romance series that I'm kind of interested in how this is going to go. This is going to be Tessa Bailey's Duchess Deal series. I don't quite know what the title of the series is, but it's a bunch of like companion novels. This was recommended to me by Issa, I think. She reached out to me through an Instagram post I had made where I was asking people for recommendations, and this was one of several that she had. So this is, I think, a 4-book series or something to that effect so far. And I think that this will end up going pretty well because I've heard Tessa Bailey's really good, but this is historical romance, and I don't always do well with historical romances, but I think if this ends up being how the Countess of Harley mysteries ended up being, with it being historical, I think I might enjoy this. I don't know. We'll have to see how that's going to go, but yeah, that's going to be what I'm going to work on for this month for my Finish Your DNF series. So let me know what you guys thought of it, and hopefully I enjoy this one enough to finish the series. Okay, so we're going to now go into all of the 2022 releases that I still have yet to read this month that I want to. The first of which being Electra by Jennifer Saint. This is, I think, a companion novel to her other book, which is called Ariadne. It's a pretty short story. It is a retelling of the story of Electra, which is a Greek story. Next, we have The Book of Living Secrets by Madeleine Roux. I used to be a huge Madeleine Roux fan when she came out with the Asylum series, and this is, I believe, her newest young adult story. I don't really know much about this one other than I think it does involve witches? Maybe? I don't know. It is another super highly anticipated book because it is by one of my favorite authors, and that is Sabaa Tahir. I have loved Sabaa Tahir's Ember in the Ashes series. I never finished it. I got through like maybe book 2 and I was too scared to continue, but I would like to finish it. But I love Sabaa's writing, and this is her young adult contemporary that I do believe talks a lot about things like Islamophobia. So I think this is going to be, again, like The Firekeeper's Daughter, kind of a harder hitting one at some times, but I cannot wait. I love Sabaa's writing so much. I'm so excited to get started with this one. Next, we have one that I'm fairly certain a lot of you might be surprised that I haven't read as of yet, but I think I'm going to actually kind of enjoy, and that's The Atlas 6 by Olivia Blake. I have not read this as of yet, and the only reason it is an anticipated 2022 release is because I do believe that the full published version came out earlier this year, and then also The Atlas Paradox, the second book, just recently came out. I don't know how I'm going to fare with this one. I really want to like it, but I have heard some mixed reviews on this one since it had been released and since it was initially published indie-wise, but I know that there are also major differences between the indie published version and the traditionally published one. So, I don't know. We'll see. I would like to like it, but we're going to have to see how this one goes. Next, I have Ruta Sepetys' I Must Betray You. If y'all don't know, one of my most favorite historical fiction authors is Ruta Sepetys. Everything she has written has been absolutely astounding. I honestly consider her an auto-buy author for me, and this is her newest one. This one dealing with, I believe, in the 1980s in Romania when there is some kind of a revolution going on. And I don't really know much about that time period. I didn't even know that in Romania in like the late 80s, early 90s, there was any kind of a revolution, which again is what I love about Ruta's writing, is that she focuses on these different aspects of history that like don't really get talked about much, and it makes me want to go and research a little bit more about the specific time periods and what really happened, because while she does touch on some things here that are pretty prevalent to the actual things that happen in the actual event, there's even more to learn on my own kind of thing. So very excited to continue with my love for Ruta Sepetys. So then otherwise, I also have, like I said, Yerba Buena by Nina LaCour. This is her newest book. I also have Lake Lore by Anna Marie McLemore. I absolutely love Blanca and Roja, and I have several more of her books, and this is just the newest one that I'm very excited to get into. The next one is Book of Night by Holly Black. I have no idea if I'm gonna like this. I have not read her Cruel Prince series, but I know this is like one of her first forays into adult fantasy, and it hasn't been very well received to my knowledge. So I'm a little hesitant with this one, but we're gonna try to read it. Then I also have Hide by Kirsten White. Again, another author I've heard very hit or miss things about, so again, a little hesitant, but willing to try. Next, I have I Kissed Shara Wheeler by Casey McQuiston. This one I'm very excited for because I loved Red, White, and Royal Blue so much. I never got to read One Last Stop, but I would love to eventually, but this is her newest novel. Then we have The House Across the Lake by Riley Sager. Never read a Riley Sager book before, but I've heard really good things about his work, so I wanted to read it. Then we also have Foul Lady Fortune by Chloe Gong. I read part of These Violent Delights and ended up having to return my library copy and then just never continued with it, but I really loved what I had read in terms of her writing style, so I think I'm going to really enjoy Foul Lady Fortune. Then I have the last one is In a Garden Burning Gold by Rory Power. I loved Wilder Girls by Rory. It was absolutely amazing, and I have heard really good things about this one, so I'm very excited to dip my toes into Rory's next story, which I think this may even be venturing on adult, if I'm not mistaken. I think this may be more of an adult novel than her previous books. But without further ado, those are all of the books I'm looking to read in November. I think it's entirely possible. I think I'm really going to enjoy Upon a Burning Throne, but I do think that Oathbringer is going to be my problem child, much like the other two books in the series, but hopefully that'll not be the case, but we will see. But thank you guys so much for joining me in this video. If you guys did enjoy it, please do give it a big thumbs up. And if you haven't already and you'd like to be and would like to see more content like this, go ahead and hit the button down below and subscribe to become an owlet in our flock. And I will see all of you guys in my next video. Bye, guys!